evening to everyone. And secondly, I would like to extend the love and greetings of all the saints back home in St. Kitts and Nevis to you. So many countries to name, but we are so thankful to be here. This evening, I would like to continue because I believe that we've had a very, very good start to this conference and a very fitting trend, if you will. I believe that Brother Greg yesterday opened the baton very well. And then it is evident that we are in Barbados because it's only Brother Jefferson who could apologize but then knock the ball out of the park. And he did a very good job. And then we have our two able brothers who did an excellent job in giving us somewhat of these very important things that we need to focus on when it comes to children. And not that we're going to be speaking about children this evening, but I want to use this opportunity to just make us aware, to introduce us to various things that we could utilize amongst ourselves, amongst the assemblies, and specifically, therefore, we're looking at the use of technology in the work, and I'll be assisted by a few able young men. And take my seat, let them take over, and talk you through this, okay? What I want to say, though, is that I want it to be engaging. That is, we're not going to be the ones doing all of the talking. We want to hear from you, and we want to have an open discussion. So first, I will just whet your appetite a bit, and then brothers Antonio and Barrage, or Dwight, is going to continue. When we look at where we are, the time that we are in, we are surrounded by technology. And especially in the Caribbean, you'll be surprised, St. Kitts is very small. Only 68 square miles. You could drive around the island in about 45 minutes. So come to St. Kitts. You're going to have a wonderful time in a very short time as well. And we do have direct flights from any port. So I'm telling you this so that you can know we want you to come and visit us. But nonetheless, as small as it is one of the highest countries when it comes to technology and the penetration of technology, especially as it relates to smartphones. And when we look at the Caribbean on the whole, as small as St. Kitts is, Flow is doing very well. It is where they generate most of their income, believe it or not. But what I want us to look at, though, is just this idea of what we want when we look at Christ-centered ministry and how we can really get it where we need it to go, to the right people, to the right audience, so that they all can be built up. And as such, we learned earlier that Christ-centered ministry is a ministry that is spirit-led and Christ-focused. When it comes to the use of technology in the work, we must also seek to apply that very focus in choosing what, if any, and the brother just prayed that there may be wisdom given, if any, may be leveraged to aid in our various objectives that has been given to us, and this is in relation to carrying out the work of the ministry, the furtherance of the gospel of Christ, and the building up of the saints of God. How can we utilize these things to aid or provide some assistance, being mindful of this very thing that we need to be very careful? Because we, as the adage is, where God is at work, the devil is at work as well. We have seen it throughout the centuries where that which was started by Christianity first became corrupted and became that which was used to pull many individuals apart. So as such, I want to read a verse in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9. And as I prepared, this is what the Spirit of God laid on my heart, was a very important guiding principle for us. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, from verses, I'll read just verses 19, 22, and 23. And it says there, "For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more." Verse 22, "To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you." This is our guiding principle. And this verse is very, very important, because not only is the Apostle Paul saying to us, was a very wise master builder, as he called himself, and one who was a co-laborer with God, but he used this verse in relation to reaching individuals where they were. And not only so, reaching them in a way which it didn't in any way deter from his standards, but yet still were able to come down to their level, and was successful in not only giving them the gospel, but winning their souls for Christ and building them up. I have underlined two expressions, and that is "by all means," to save some, and then "this I do for the gospel's sake." And what I'm seeking to do is for us to look at the fact that we must be guided in three areas, and I'm going to bring them up shortly, but at the same time, there is a restraint that we must use to measure ourselves as we seek to utilize these technologies. Hey, there's so many, and we could look at them. But what are the ones that can really work, and how are we to use them in a way that they do not become a problem? Where, in the technological sense, where the solution that you're putting in becomes a problem. And as such, these are my three restraints. I've called them the litmus test in deciding. That is, what is your motive? What is your real intent? What it is that you are seeking to achieve? Is there a genuine desire Christ's word? And if we would have him, as we had again today, that is all about Christ. If we would have him as our focus even in choosing what it is that we want, then we will be safe. And then the second thing is to decide for ourselves, what is our focus? Is it strictly for Christ's sake, or is it for filthy lucre's sake? There are many individuals who are utilizing technologies for various reasons, but it's just so that they can, as it were, achieve self-aggrandizement, achieve for themselves some wealth, and use things to really extricate funds from individuals. And these are dangerous. And the third one is very, very important, because when we're dealing, especially with young individuals, and not necessarily young in age, but young in terms of their beliefs and their anchor in the things of Christ, there is the danger where it opens up some sort of weakness. And we have to ask ourselves, will it lead to an addiction or foster further weakness on the part of the users? Many individuals can't put down their phone. And many individuals can't even exist without it, it seems. And sometimes when you scan the crowd, you hear, I'm reading my Bible, and I'm utilizing that within the meeting. But honestly, are they really doing that? Sometimes they're texting, sometimes they're doing various things, sometimes the young men even playing games, some racing game or whatever it is. And it's because there is a weakness on their part, so we have to ensure that when we are deciding and the things that we would use, that it does not create a greater problem so that they themselves are weak. Now, there are many things and many myths that exist out there, and the one is that if you build it, they will come. That is, if you use it, it's going to increase our testimony, it's going to increase our spread, it's going to increase our reach. But really, the question is, how can we leverage these so that they are utilized by those whom the Lord has placed under our care? Then, some would say it doesn't cost anything. You don't have to worry about it. These are things which are now free. But really and truly, what are the true costs is what we have to ask ourselves, because it will cost you more than just money. It could cause individuals being lost, left behind, or stumbled. And then, only the young generation is using it. You know, as we heard Brother James and others indicated that they are individuals, young as they are, they're master of these technologies. But you know what? It's not just for the young. You'll be surprised how many old individuals, not old necessarily again in age, but those who are seasoned, if I may use that, and have the wisdom shining out. I'm starting to get a little wisdom shining out as well. But those who have the gray hairs, that it is suggested that even above their age, they're among those who are just as good as the young. So these are just myths. And again, there are so many things that are out there. So many things that we can use, whether it's blogging, whether it's Twittering. Again, now the president uses that very, very well. And other tools that we have at our disposal. And this is a little image of the 21st century teacher, his choice, what to use. Where we can ask ourselves, the 21st century preacher, his choice, what it is that he can use. And I just want to go through several things. In fact, this entire conference, you would have recognized that we are using a good bit of technology. And these events that we are going through are being streamed live as we speak. And right now we understand that there are about 29 other participants who are not physically here who are viewing it. So there's a use of videos and large screens, and this can be used to promote it amongst the assemblies to help in enhancing our delivery. Sometimes we do have children's meeting or young people's meeting or whatever it is, and not all of the young ones are able to know the songs by heart. So then using projection of these can help enhance that a bit. And not only that, is not everybody learning the same way. Some learn by seeing and are faster at grasping things, touching and being interactive, while others are more disciplined and learn by just hearing. And then for us, there's where we have a lot of very good writers. We have among ourselves individuals who are gifted in these areas. Have we created blogs? Have we created the means to put our writings out for ourselves amongst local assemblies or even regional as well? These are things that we could utilize to have our literature that is placed out there. And as I said, live streaming. This is something that is very useful, and we had then suggested some time ago, because not everybody is able to attend our conferences amongst our assemblies, and not everybody, because of whatever restraint, financially and otherwise, that they may have, who want to come. But now we can leverage these things so that they, as I just indicated, can be a part of the unseen audience. And then there are other things that we could do, such as podcasts. And what this basically is taking a sound bite and placing it in a digital realm so that that could be downloaded and played, whether on your phone or whatever pod device that you may have, whether you have internet or not. While I was flying back recently from Grenada, I was listening the material that was recorded in Guyana, the youth conference, the messages that were there. We also have a very important tool of a web page, because, again, there's so many assemblies across the Caribbean, but we don't know all of the events. We don't know when your VBSs are, when your camps are. Others may want to come and may not be able to physically find the location of your meeting. I had a joke one time when it was my second time to Jamaica, and I had the privilege of going to Montego Bay. And the brethren there had invited me to speak. And my wife said to me she knew the place, okay? And we left to go to the meeting in Montego Bay. And it took us an hour before we realized that we're just not going to make it, because we couldn't find it. And Later on, we found where it was. That was in the evening, but obviously the meeting had gone. But that's just an extreme. But still, we can utilize these to market ourselves and give the type of rich content which is available. Another important one is digital recording. But the Barbados is going to touch on that a bit. But we can have all of our messages recorded and made available, whether via a web page, as I said, a podcast, or even via the one that follows there, is through the last one, digital production of radio broadcasts to a diverse audience on a more wider scale. And then I know a good bit of us are using these things, instant messaging, whether it's WhatsApp or whatever it is, so that whatever alerts, notifications need to be sent out can be sent out to all the saints, and they can be aware of time changes, of various important information that we have. At this point in time, I'm going to let Brother Burridge talk a little bit about radio broadcast, and then Antonia is going to follow up with live streaming. But as I said, it's interactive, so I will come back, and if we have any questions, you can forward them to us.
Good evening. My task is to simply share with you how audio production can be done, can be packaged for radio using a software that we call Adobe. We have 1.5, 3.0, 6.0. This edition is 3.0, and this is the work area. For example, Quishel, but the Quishel is there on the mixer, and all you need is audio cables, a mixer, your microphone. You get the recording done, and once that recording is done, you install the software Adobe. You look it up on the internet, and this is the work area. So this is a digital projection of the audio. If you can see audio, they will look something like this. These are the waves. And that's the work area. That screen first shot is the workspace area once the recording is done. And then we go to the multi-track area. This is the CD project area, but there's a multi-track area for mixing different tracks. For example, if you have different speakers, like in this conference, you may have various speakers. You'll have a multi-track area, and you can mix the various areas. If you have music, you can mix the music. Someone is using maybe a guitar or keyboard. This area allows you to mix tracks and do a production. And then the other area is the CD project view. We are having, once you have edited the recording, you can burn a CD, an empty CD. We have CDs over there. You can put the material on a CD or on a pen drive and make it available for various audiences, for yourself. You can send it to the radio station or television station, and you have it packaged like that. But it requires a bit of work in terms of the editing, taking out stuff that you may not necessarily want to be aired. So the workspace area allows you to do that, to edit information, use only what you have, and once you have done that, you mix down in the multi-track, in the multi-track view, save the session, and then you have the production ready for broadcast quality. I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. We've worked with the Christ-Centered Ministries radio program. Brother Brian has a radio program, and we've worked with him in terms of recording the messages and packaging the message in 30 minutes for radio production, and that has been going quite well. However, there are lots of things that can be done in terms of presenting information, whether it be by radio or podcasts, as Brother Watkins spoke about, television. There is work that really can be done. Young people can be involved once they're used in a constructive way. You tell them how to do it. And today, you don't necessarily have to have much session in terms of telling them what to do and how to do. They just have a knack for getting things done. So once you introduce them to these particular new phenomenon in technology, they will get on board and they'll be most willing and ready to assist in this area. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello, brothers and sisters. If you don't mind, I'm going to say it in the computer. Brother mentioned wisdom, and I have plenty of the white wisdom here. So I'll sit for a bit, and we'll interact together. Before I begin, I wanted to say, as we approach this topic with a Christ-centered service in our minds, and as brothers began today and yesterday bringing us through the Word, that the essence of Christ-centered service is a Christ-centered life. And so technology is part of life now, today. And like anything, if we approach it with a Christ-centered life to a Christ-centered service, it'll bring Christ-centered glory to Christ. So, so I say that because the dangers of technology are really our hearts, because it's how we approach it, what we go about to bring with it. Are we approaching it through a Christ-focused, centered, so that He may receive the glory? Because the same dangers that we find in technology, we'll find even in our preaching. We can preach our message, and it'll bring glory to us. But we can preach Christ, and it'll bring glory to Christ. The same in our lives, in our workplace. So if we approach work with a Christ-centered life and focus, it'll bring Christ-centered glory. The same applies to this. Because the problem is not the means, it's not the technology, it's us. It's always been us. So we need fixing, and we have Christ that fixes us. And so whatever we project, it should reflect Christ, because we are in Him, and that's our identity, right? So with that in mind, as we approach technology, I wanted to show you that we are actually live, and I wanted to show you, let me see if I can get this going. And I say this because this is a tool that we can use in conferences, even in our meetings, even for a quick message to others, but that's all of you right there. And we have right now 4 views, you see in the corner, 4 views. We had 29 views in our last message. People probably went to bed already, but they're still with us, some of us, right? And yeah, you can say hi, and they'll see us. And we heard earlier also that the youngsters, right, they have a knack to this. They grab a phone, and we see them on the phone. So the tools are not complicated. Most of us already use our phones for Facebook, YouTube, emails. So this is just a Facebook, and we press a button, and it'll say go live, and you say yes, I want to go live, and you're live. And you can preach the gospel. You can it's a tool to use in ministry. Also for workers in the field that want to show some work, that need maybe prayer. The use is endless as long as we have that mindset, that heart set, focused in Christ, and bring Him the glory, right? This is just a simple tool. Again, I'll show you quick. I'll stop this live. We're in Facebook. This is our CCWC 2017 page. We did this all yesterday, so it's all coming up. This is a one-day work. We did it in a couple of hours, so it really doesn't take much. So don't think that it's complicated. It's very simple. You just go. Yeah. So. Yeah. We have, again, in this platform per se, you can, the recorded messages, this was our brother earlier, and then this was our brother earlier, and so forth, right? So the videos continue, they stay there. You can then share them through emails or other platforms, right, like YouTube. And I'm not going to go into it much more, but just to show you some tools, the brother talked about the website. This is our website in Ponce, Puerto Rico. For example, the point of it is to announce our service, announce the hours. You can see the brothers, the children. That's a picture of a Sunday, a Lord's Day. And then, we have our hourly sessions. You can find our map. Like brother said, he got lost. You go to map, and you'll find our location, again, with the services up top. And then you'll find our map, and that red arrow here shows us where we are. And brothers can find us. We have photos, videos, also prayer, where a brother or a sister can ask for prayer, and we'll receive it, and then we'll pray on prayers meeting. And then we have other links to other assemblies: Orlando, New Jersey, France, Pennsylvania. These are the ones I found when I began the search for other assemblies. And so yeah, I'll leave it now to you if you have any questions, and the brothers and I maybe can help in some. Otherwise, that'll be the end, at least for my part.
All right, so we open up the floor. What are your thoughts?
If we go back to the CCWC and the Facebook,
Right.
I don't know if anyone here, with the use of their phone, got into the site and how it really works. Has anyone present try it? Like last night's message or this afternoon's message, to pick up the live streaming. Because my difficulty is with different expertise, and you said no problem. For me, it's gross dilemma. And the challenge is that for now almost 2 years, I said we wanted to get a radio broadcast in Guyana. The preachers or the message is not a problem. We have said whatever the needed equipment, they will be bought and made available. It is the skill of the technology to get it done. And we are still today at the desired part. Buying radio time is not the problem. Getting the equipment is not the problem. Unfortunately, one young brother who is inclined or somewhat competent technologically, he was registered for the conference, but at the last minute, his job put his leave on cancellation because somebody senior has some problem and he had to stay. But it is the literal using of this system. In some places where there's a site that an assembly might have, where messages are recorded. And I may be in Guyana, I just dial a number, get on a site in Florida, and I can listen to messages. Even myself, when I visited, I can hear it afterwards. It's how these technologies are made available in this region is my challenge. The idea is wonderful. It's operationalizing it.
Zana, Alina, sorry. Yeah.
Those challenges are local challenges in the sense of the technology, because you need Wi-Fi or the phone service to have the capacity to connect to the internet. If you have that, really that's all you need in essence. And then it's just like a post. You do a post in Facebook, when you write something, when you hit post, it'll say go live, and you go live. But if you want to record and all this stuff, we can talk about it.
Yeah, well, I think the essence in answering Ashton's question is because the aim is to whet your appetite. And then the second extended goal is to show you how. And I think that is what Ashton is asking. And what we are saying out of this conference after we leave is to begin to pool those resources such that we would create how-tos so that it's not just desired technologies, but now you can have a literal guide as to how to do it. If it requires getting somebody there to guide you, especially as indicated about the radio broadcast, then these are avenues now, I believe, now becomes mandatory, because we do have individuals among ourselves with that know-how. So if there's a deficiency in one area or one country, we should be able to tap into that. And I believe that is the whole point of why it's discussing now, because far too long, as you indicated, there's been talk. But as Paul says, if there's a will, there must now be a performance of it, of what was will. Linus has hers up. I have mine's up as well. And others, I'm sure, if you were to sign in, we'll get it up. But again, just to show you how. There was another question.
But I think, if I may quickly, Brother Ashton asked if anyone was able to have the live streaming on their phone. There's a brother from St. Lucia. I was sitting next to him and another young lady, and they were trying to log on, to get on. I'm not sure if they were successful, but I've heard reports today of persons who were looking at it and they were able to access it. Not for too long, though. I think it was just 5 minutes or something like that. But it works.
Well, let me just add something in terms of the radio broadcast, because I used to do a radio program using technology. At first, I was using Skype. So with Skype, you talk live, but that is audio. Then afterwards, I went to Ustream, so we could also use Ustream, where you use the same program, Adobe, and then you do your recording, your editing, it's saved, and then the station uses that. So I used to have several messages or several programs recorded on Ustream. Then the station then goes into that program and use that also. So that is also another means of technology which you could use for radio programming.
So will there be a move from used to will start to again? Any other questions? Thoughts, comments? Yes? Two. One in here, one there. Okay.
It's not a question, but it's a comment. In terms of technology, I think the older saints also need to be sensitized, because as younger people, we know the effect that technology can have on the work. But the older people may see you with your device and they may think that you're not doing anything worthwhile. So even at a Bible camp, if they see you with this too many times in your hand, they will question. So I think there also needs to be sensitization of those who are not as versed or tech savvy.
Okay. And go ahead and ask a question.
Well, for me also, it's not a question, but as it relates to what Brother Ashton was saying earlier, sometimes actually you don't even need somebody physically there to teach how to edit audio, photo, etc. Because what we do at my school is, for the club I'm in charge of, what we do is we actually download tutorials online for the various programs. For instance, that one there, Adobe Premiere. There are tutorials available online. You can download them. Some range from like 5 to 10 minutes to 2-3 hours. You can take your time, learn incrementally. You don't have to learn it all one time. And you're going to be able to, at the end of it, use that software to its full capacity. And then that you have the knowledge now, you can teach someone else. Also, that isn't the only program. There's some much simpler ones out there. And what we can also do is, I don't think there was a mention of like YouTube channels too, because we can have those sermons, messages, etc. uploaded to YouTube. You have a channel there, and just like the other social media, you could go search, check it out, and it's all up there for as long as you want it to be.
Our CCWC YouTube channel still has nothing on it. It'll have, hopefully, by tomorrow, it'll have a message up. And like the brother said, for the brothers who want to learn how to use the technology, even searching on YouTube, you don't even have to download maybe. Just search on YouTube the things that you're trying to accomplish. For example, you put on YouTube and you put how to go Facebook Live. And it'll give you tutorials, step-by-steps on how to do it.
Peter had a question.
I like the idea of the YouTube channel, because I don't know how many persons are still dedicated to Facebook. I mean, I'm probably one of the few persons who don't go very often to it, but I know YouTube, definitely. If you start, if you get persons interested in the channel, then you find that persons will be quite loyal to that aspect of it. But going to a little bit to what was mentioned concerning the younger persons and the older persons, and the interaction in relation to having devices, especially during meetings. Things will change, definitely. I've always had the stance, though, that we shouldn't try to push it faster than it really is going. So while there will be a time when maybe we don't have books and so on, there's still a place for the Bible in our hand. And, even within the work environment, I mean, I work in a very sensitive area, sensitive records and so on. And they took a decision that persons should not use their phones, full stop, at work, during working hours. That is how serious, some organizations will take it. And it makes you wonder if they can take that decision because they saw it was affecting whether it be the work ethic or whatever it was. It means that we ought to be careful as well. We shouldn't really necessarily be, to run with technology as though we're trying to run ahead of it or so. But let's go with it. Let's go with it, recognizing that there's a place for it. But I guess the point is really not to kind of run ahead, if you know what I mean. It's do what is necessary, and if it is effective, we use it and so on. But yeah.
Okay, there's behind. There's a mic behind. Okay. Yes.
I have two comments or questions. in relation to the live streams, we were talking about the limitations and leveraging and stuff. If we have live streams available, say we start with a conference and then people start doing that because everyone's really, really busy. So, so then they start using live streams instead of actually assembling together for the ministry meetings and stuff like that. To me, that seems like something realistic to think about, because to me, our devices can be very, very addictive. We're going on to check out the brethren WhatsApp, and then somebody else send you an attachment how to make sugar cookies and stuff like that. So you then go into the sugar cookies video, and then you see a cute bunny rabbit with this and this, that, and the other. This is real. It's all over the place, and all these things you end up going on, and at times you check within yourself. You say, should it be on Facebook at 12 o'clock in the night? Yeah, doing it might not be anything bad per se in terms of you're doing all legitimate. You're not watching anything ungodly. You're not, but what you're doing. But these are real things that we have to take into concern in terms of, like our brother was talking about, running with the technology and stuff like that. And then also there are those who choose, because I've experienced it. Sometimes you might not have data on your phone, and then you get WhatsApp messages, that you might get, but you didn't get it because you don't have a phone. But then there are people, sisters, brethren who are also still interested in the work and what's not, but they're not being informed because they don't have WhatsApp. So in terms of not leaving out some who choose for personal reasons also not to have a device or not to have the internet, not getting so caught up in it. So those are things that I don't know can be addressed.
I would like to argue with that respect, because it's very important. Because again, we tend to put the eye on the technology, but if we think about it, it's us. Again, it's a reflection of our heart. Why would we choose not to go to a meeting and stay home and watch live? It's not because it's live, it's because our hearts. So, for example, we have the Bible, the Word of God. And sometimes we choose to read the good seed and a book and put aside the Bible. They are supplementary. They're not to be a replacement. Our hearts need to reflect Christ. They need to be built up with Christ. And if that happens, the technologies and everything else, even the books, even the good seed, become work tools, become things that will help in our edification and in our growth. But it won't replace that builds us up, which is Christ, right? And so it reflects our hearts. And that's why when we approach everything, especially technology, we tend to point at it, but it's actually pointing at us. But I understand the point, and it's not everybody. The tools can also be, a distraction as well as many things. But it's a good point, and it's something that we need to consider.
Let me just remind ourselves again, and that's why I started with that verse at the beginning, that we apply the filters that is there. What is our motive? What is our focus? And if there's a weakness. And as you said, it's to remain Christ-centered in terms of our hearts and the choice. The second thing is not to open the floodgate to literally utilize all of these various available technological tools and so on. And by no means, especially when it relates to the meeting, is to have that stream. What we were saying is that the events that we may have, like a conference and various things that persons may not necessarily be the opportunity to come who would like to come, that avenue is what we could also seek to embrace, but never not at all to have our meetings streamed live at this point in time. But let's just keep it again along the road, along that track, and we will be all right. Okay? I see 2 persons. I want to say, though, let's give ourselves the next 5 minutes, Lincoln, if that's with your permission, and we can bring the curtains down. Brother General Lance and Renee has the mic in their hands.
Renee, go ahead. You're in front of me. I believe it's important to just re-emphasize.
Your mic is on? Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's important to re-emphasize this brother's point. I think they were saying actually the same thing. For example, even this conference, it should not be because it's live. You should just rather stay home, even if you can afford to come. Just stay home because it's live. It's better you make yourself available to be there. I believe it would benefit you more than actually staying home. And especially our young people have to be careful with the use of it. It's good, but you have to be disciplined. You have to look at yourself again and know that it is just a tool or means, but whatever basic foundations we have with regards to the use of our Bibles, this should not replace it. Just to need to know again, in terms of radio broadcast, what are the basic equipment you need to actually get a recording done?
With today's technology, there's a program called Audacity. It's free online. You can download it, you plug in a mic to your computer, and that's it. You're online, you record, and then post.
Okay, so you don't need a mixer or anything like that?
Not necessarily.
You can if you want to.
For an online broadcast, but
For radio to record?
live streaming or even YouTube. When it comes to like the Hebrews chapter 10, we speak, forsaken not the assembling of itself as the manner of some is. Recording is good. YouTube is good. But there is always something amiss by not being present. The spirit of the moment and the atmosphere could never be recorded. To be present is something very special. So you could listen it on tape, you could see it live, but to be there is a different thing. So this is the area where the danger comes. The danger comes with responding to God's word legitimately and also not being there. I could get something of what we said, but I tell you, there's a blessing to be amongst God's people when the Spirit of God is giving a prophetic word. There's nothing like it. You cannot put that on tape, no matter how they try. And that is special to the garden scene. So when it comes to technology, use it. But there is something God gives special when you're not present.
And that's precisely the principle. We've all played with that. We've all had the experience that the brother is bringing. So when we think, I have the option of going to a meeting or staying, you think, no, I want to go because I know what it means to go. That's precisely what
Okay, Lance.
Yes, I wouldn't bother regurgitate what was said because I think those who spoke before sort of say what I wanted to say, especially in relation to the danger. And I think it was well said by Antonio himself said that I understand what our sister there was saying, these are the dangers. And what I feel is that even as we continue to see how we can utilize technology for the glory and honor of the Lord, the saving of souls. We need to keep that danger ever before our minds and help to instruct especially our young ones, because here, I just say they have this device in their hand and it's like they're God. We need to instruct them concerning the dangers, because there are plenty, and the truth about it, the devil will use it. The Lord can use it for his honor and glory, but the devil for sure is using it. So that is basically what I want to say, but it was properly said by all the speakers before, and even our sister, she expressed that concern, but we need to take note of it.
Okay. In the final minute, Brother Sandy.
In 1 Kings 12, there is something that's an exhortation for us. I give a general paraphrase. When the things of God are too far for us, it's because there is an idol too near. Is that right? When the things of God are too far for us, it's because there's an idol too near. That's what our brother has been saying. My second point is, it might be very obvious to us, but we see on television and through other means that people are recording what they would consider their worship meetings. Now, it's obvious for us that this is for the Lord. You understand? It's just like the frankincense. Upon pain of death, the children of Israel were not to reproduce it. The ointment that was used to anoint the priest was not to be reproduced on the pain of death. And it seems obvious to us in respect of the worship, which is for the Lord, that we don't record and put it out there. It's for the Lord. But we see it happening among many groups. And it's another area, it's obvious, I think, for most of us, that this is for the Lord. And we have to guard against encroachment on that area in the future. Okay? I just mentioned it. I think it's obvious to us. Yeah.
Are there any final comments, additions?
Yes, perhaps one
Okay.
point I would like to make. In the Bible, there are three ways that the world is presented. One is the land space. The second one is the people. And the third one is the system. So my caution is, the world is a system designed by Satan to keep us so busy that we have no time for God. So the point is, if we're using technology, we have to be very careful that we do not allow the technology to control us, but that rather we control the technology. As our brother was saying all the time, the problem is not the technology, the problem is us.
Okay, I believe these are fitting words to end on, and very, very important caution as well. I believe that it's a lot to take in, but if we have, as the theme is, Christ-centered service, as I started with, if he is at the core in our motive, in our focus, and ensuring, as we heard, that it is the Spirit alone that is controlling us, then we would be safe. Let us just bow our heads as we close this session in prayer.